Hi, and thanks so much for joining us on Live with Squacky. I'm Bill Kelly, owner, president, CEO, and executive producer of Mid-Atlantic Voiceover LLC. And I'm so excited because we're starting season 3 today, and our special guest is voice actress Holly Adams. Thanks so much for joining us today, Holly.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Yeah. So Holly is a SAG-AFTRA performer and a stage and film actress for many years. She's been a stage and film actress for many years before joining the voice talent, and she began her voiceover career doing radio plays, full cast audiobooks, and science shorts. Since then, she's voiced books in multiple genres, commercials, animation, and e-learning, and she's been nominated for Best Fiction and Best Female Narrator. So it's really so exciting to have you on the show today. We had to have a general idea of how you got started in the industry from my intro that I just gave, which is adapted from your website, just so I make sure I say that. But can you tell us why you decided to get into voiceover after being a stage and film actress?
It was not really like I know. It was more of an expansion of what I was already doing than like a progression of goal-oriented thought. I still do film and stage and other crazy things, Shakespeare, circus. And basically I got cast in a bunch of live radio shows, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And because it was that sort of old-fashioned style, I mean, now they're coming back in a big way, right, with all the audio dramas and stuff.
Yeah.
But these were the scripts from the golden age of radio. So we played multiple parts, and I got to work with some, unbelievable people like J.G. Hertzler, and that got me an audition with a full cast audiobook company that didn't anticipate. And then I just was like, wow, I really love this. I really love this. And I'd really like to continue to grow this aspect of my craft. And I mean, if you're a stage actor, who doesn't want to play all the parts?
Yes, totally.
And many of us have done a lot of smaller tours or shows where, the company has to cast you in multiple roles. So it's kind of a natural outgrowth of that, although it has its own special skill set. When I started doing single narration audiobooks and more animation and game type stuff, I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh, I'm losing my mind. And they were like, why? And I said, well, pretend it's sort of like, let's say you were a prima ballerina and you had studied ballet your whole life, and then you were in a modern dance company. Yeah, you have the skill set and you don't at the same time. So I worked really, really hard to grow those skills as well. But I continue to find there are a lot of people that sort of make a complete jump. And I continue to find that doing more than like doing a multiple genres of performances in my life continues to have, like, this project will give me something to think about for this other project. Or the people that I'm working with in X production, I'll be like, oh my God, you are the perfect character for this other thing I'm working on.
Yeah, so you get ideas for characters from people that you work with. Yeah, totally, all the time. That happens to me too. I'm always like I told you, I'm a teacher too, so like my students, a lot of times I base characters off of them, and I'm sure they probably, most of them don't know that they're a character somewhere that I'm using, but like, yeah, I do that all the time because there's such, teenagers are such great characters in themselves to work with, and you can pull like their mannerisms and their accents and their attitude and their behavior. It's like so much to work with. So yeah.
And they're so honest.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even when they're being dishonest, it's still raw and real and not fake. And I think sometimes when you're listening to something that you don't buy, or watching something that you don't completely buy, it's because you can feel that kind of falsity in it. Yeah. So I love what you're saying. I do that too. And one of the exciting things about working on, like I'm working on a play right now, and I love watching a different actor make a choice I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah. It's so interesting, the difference between, being on stage in front of a live audience and being in your booth in front of a, microphone. It's really different, kind of a platform of performance. But I love both. Like when I was in college, I started out in theater when I just kind of like fell into it. Like it was a scenario where my roommate was like, come try out for this play. And I'm like, I'm really not an actor. And she's like, come try out for it anyway. I've told this story like a billion times, so sorry to the people that have already heard it, but my roommate literally was like, come try out for this. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I went to try out for this play, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're perfect for this role. So they make the call, you're like, oh, I'm sure I didn't get a part. They make the call, tell me I get the like lead role in the play. And then I'm like, oh, great. How about my roommate? And they're like, yeah, she didn't make it. So could you like give her that message? I'm like, no, you give her the message. So that was like kind of like the start of it. But what was so funny is that I got cast in the play for my voice because they needed like this really cute, like high pitch, But yeah, that's so fun. But I think all of the genres, all of those things kind of overlap, like you said, and you can pull and draw from each one. So I think that's really interesting to be doing all of them at the same time and getting different ideas. So in voiceover, we know that there's so many people that are coaches. And have you trained with anybody in voiceover over the years that you really loved working with?
Yeah, I there are so many fantastic teachers. And like anything, if you're a teacher, you know this. There isn't one teacher that'll work for everybody, but there is a teacher for everybody. So one of the things that I would recommend, especially if people want to do audiobooks, is to during APAC week, Johnny Heller has a workshop day where there's like 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 different audiobook narrators who are also coaching.
Yeah.
And if you're shopping for someone to do one-on-one with you, you can have a strong sense of where they're coming from and who they are. And I think that helps you test drive what that relationship might be like. I've attended quite a few of those, and they're just wonderful. And the same with APAC ones. I have to say that the coaches that I know on a more personal level are just lovely, even though, I haven't had one-on-one with them, but I've had workshops with them.
Right.
So like PJ Auckland and Johnny Heller and Sean Allen Pratt and Hillary Huber and Dion Graham, and they're all just, what they want is for you to succeed. The one person that I did have some one-on-one audiobook coaching with was the brilliant Christine Vam. And she was just lovely, absolutely fantastic. In terms of outside of the world of audiobooks, I've taken some workshops with a number of people, and I would say hands down, my favorite person is Shelly Shenoy. I feel so like whether you're taking a class with her where there's more than one person, or you're doing a one-on-one intensive, she's so in your corner. Like,
Yeah.
She's never going to make you feel bad, but she's always assuming that you want to be great. So she's not going to just let stuff slide. And
that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've done a couple of the 10-day intensives with her, and that you get a demo out at the other end, which is another really key piece to the animation demo world.
Mm-hmm.
And the audiobook world, but it's a completely different kind of demo.
Right.
And having someone listen to you and help you craft what your demo will look like to maximize your strengths that you may or may not have known about, that's another thing that she's just brilliant at.
That's cool. Yeah, there's so many great coaches. It's always a funny question to ask because people are like, "Val, I have like 75 people I could tell you," and I'm like, "I know. I just want to know like who your favorites are." I
Yeah.
think it's so interesting because everybody can kind of compare, like, and then there's always people that you're just not going to know because you can't know everybody, right? So,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. And there's so many people I'm sure that I'm not saying, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to pick this one person with whom I've worked the most and
yeah,
say, so.
that's amazing. More specifically about your personal voiceover career, do you have any goals that you'd like to accomplish in your voiceover career in 2019?
I am such a chicken when it comes to outreach. And so in January, I was like, okay, I am going to send some emails and my demos to a voice agent this year. Guess who hasn't done that yet?
Oh no,
So I
you
have
gotta do it.
everything kind of like lined up, and I haven't actually even sent anything out. So my goal is to follow through on my own commitment to myself.
Yes, do it. That's awesome.
So
That's a really great goal and one that you should definitely follow through with. And 2019 is like ending pretty soon, so you're running out of
I
time.
know. I think that that's true. I think a lot of, I mean, this is going to sound really stupid, but I think a lot of us are really shy.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's, we can get behind the microphone and we're not with other people, but then it's like when we have to actually talk with other actual people, it's like, oh my gosh, what if they don't like me, or what if it's just
Oh, I said something stupid. Oh,
yeah, it's that kind of thing. I think what's helped me with that has been, going to a lot of networking events, and then like running my own networking event obviously helps. You don't have a choice. You kind of like you have to not be shy, even if you are. Everyone's busy these days with voiceover, family, travel, and so many other things. What do you do to maintain balance in your life? Because I feel like this is such an important question for people right now.
yeah. I've tried so hard this year in particular when I've had some months where I was like, I am doing a month and a half's worth of work in a month and I'm not sleeping and I don't have any downtime. I'm like, I can't, this is not good. This is not good for me. This is not what life is about. So I'm trying super hard to hang on to my family, my friends, like actually taking a walk in nature, reading a book to turn off my brain, all of that kind of stuff. I'm trying super hard. I try to like have at least one coffee or tea date with a friend, write an actual physical letter to a
Yeah.
family member, like a real letter in the
That's
mail.
so good. I miss letters. Like no one does that anymore, you know? Like I just we should
Yeah,
though. That's a good idea, a really good idea, just to write an actual letter to somebody.
people love getting mail. And
Yeah,
then it
it's not a
slows
bill.
and it makes you kind of like slow down and like, so sometimes I'll just put stickers on and I find that that helps me just use a different aspect of my brain, and it's like low stakes, but it's like a secret present. They're like, oh, I got this thing, and it's good, and that
Yeah,
it just makes me happy.
yeah, those are all really good things to, like I said, to find balance. I think that it's so important for people to take the time for self-care because I think that that's something that a lot of us let slide and then it catches up with you and it can affect your health and, just your just emotional status, and I think that there is a lot less interaction with, face to face with people sometimes. And then when you actually have to face people, you're like, I don't know how to communicate with people because I spend all my time tweeting or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important to take time for self care, especially in an industry like voiceover, because we are so busy all the time. And a lot of us have families and do other things besides voiceover. And then it just can be like so many things that we're juggling that it's very easy to be like, oh, I'll take care of myself later, later, later. And then before you know it, you're sick and you're like, okay, now I really have to take care of myself because I didn't before, So that's really good. What have some of your biggest successes in voiceover been so far?
I still love the radio play stuff. And like that feels like a big success to me, even though it's not on some sort of, on the like official level. But they felt really successful because they were different, and I worked with rock star actors, these
Yeah.
like famous people, and I was like, oh. Other things, I feel really good about that. My audiobook world is multiple genres.
Mhm.
I like that. I feel that feels like a success to me. Other successes, I think one of my successes is not feeling like I have to spend every minute working. Like that was a hard one success. And
Yeah.
going on what you're talking about personal well-being, that was actually a whole big workshop at APAC this last year. And it's so important. So important. So that feels like a success to me because it's been hard won. And I'm not sure I've won that battle yet, but
I think it's an ongoing process for a lot of us. I think you really have to make that decision to say, I'm going to take time for myself. My whole life is not about my work. For me, I don't ever feel like voiceover is work for me. I always feel like I love doing it so much that it's like I could spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week doing it, and I still wouldn't feel like I'm working because I just love it. And I think that a lot of us feel that way. But at the same time, I've also talked to a lot of people who are like, Val, you have too many things going on. You got to like try to balance out. So that's why I think this question of balance is so important, and getting insight from people on how to. And those are, things that I've been working on for the last year, is just trying to find the balance in my life and putting the emphasis on family and spending time with actual friends and all of the things that you said, just, working out and reading an actual book, and it's things that you don't always get time to do, but you make time to do because it's so important for your own well-being. It can't just be about work, 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 whether it's teaching or voiceover or whatever, So I think that's
yeah,
really, really important.
I love my work. I
Yeah,
love my work. And I could easily not do anything else. But then, like you said, it's like, but then you turn around and you haven't nurtured your relationships or your health or whatever.
right. Yeah. So what about some obstacles that you've had in your career?
Um, I would say quite a few. For myself, again, trying to figure out who I am as a marketer, trying to find a way for myself to, because there's the people that really kind of just rocket towards their set goals are those natural marketing types. And when they say something, they can just walk up to anybody and be like, I'm this person and here's this and this is the way it is. And they just magically know what to say. And I'm not like that. And also I listen to how other people present themselves, and I'm realizing that I'm not able to do it that way. So, but I have to do it. I have to find ways to access it was a character, but still honest, but still me, a piece of myself that can do this. So what does that look like? What does
Right.
my version of marketing and outreach look like? And
Right.
that's been really, really hard. I think I'm getting much better at it. We reached out to you on Twitter. Oh, that was a thing. That was like a big
Yeah.
deal. And I was like, I'm just gonna she seems super nice. I think I can do this. I not want to crawl under a table. I think we'll like each other. So, but just figuring out I don't know, I'm repeating myself, but I think there are a lot of people like me who look at the people who are super successful at it and say, but I can't say those words. I can't take that action. And then the next step is to think, well, then I can't do anything.
Right.
And that's not true. Finding an alternate an alternate strategy, an alternate networking way, like you did. You know, you were able to create a whole brilliant thing that benefited not just you, but a lot of other people. Fantastic. But we each have to figure out for ourselves, all of us shy people, what is that? What does that look like? How do I inhabit that? Oh,
Right.
messed that up. So for me, that's been, I would say, the biggest one.
Yeah, it's funny. It's, you know, I've talked about this with a lot of people, and talking to someone like Marc Scott, who is like a marketing pro, you know, and Marc is always my go-to guy, or Marc Scott or Tom Dheere, my two go-tos for like business or marketing, like anything, you know. I just send them a message and I'm like, guys, I don't know what to do. What should I say? Like, blah, blah, blah. And they'll just like, Marc will literally like say that. He'll be like, say this. I'm like, thank God, because I really don't know what to say here. You know, and he's saved me so many times. He's absolutely brilliant. But we've talked about, you know, for him, it comes naturally. He has that, you know, background of, this is a big part of his career, you know, so it just becomes something that's natural for him. Whereas I think maybe people like you and me who are, it's not to say that Marc's not creative. He is absolutely so creative, you know, but marketing comes like more naturally to him. Whereas I think that my mindset, and possibly your mindset, is more on the creative actor side of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're actors first, and then the, you know, the business component, at least for me, comes like after. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like, I know what I'm doing on stage. I know what I'm doing sort of in front of the camera. I know what I'm doing behind the microphone. That part I have down. You know, that part I continue to train, and I continue to learn. I continue to get coaching and improve, and just improve my skill set. But for me, marketing doesn't come naturally. And I don't know that it ever will. I'm getting better, obviously. You know, I'm pretty good at social media. Like, I'm kind of a pro at like the whole Twitter, well, I don't really like Facebook, but Instagram, you know, like I could spend my whole day just coming up with ideas to like, what am I going to tweet? What am I going to da da da? You know, and like, I love doing that. It's like the creative process of like, what am I going to put that's going to be content that's creative and interesting, people want to read or see or whatever. But when it comes to me promoting myself, that's a totally different story. I can promote my event, I can promote you, I can promote anybody who I need to promote. But when it comes to me actually promoting my own career, that's where there's like that's not happening, you know? So I get where you're coming from as far as that being an obstacle. And I think a lot of us are in the same boat, you know? And I think you're doing exactly the right thing. You're continuing to try, you're trying new things. You just can't say like, well, that doesn't come naturally to me, so I'm just going to give up. Like,
Right.
even though you probably have days like that, because I know I do, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just give up on voiceover altogether and just like not do it. And then my kids are like, Mom, what is wrong with you? Like, snap out of it. It's like what you're born to do. Like, you can't just not do it anymore. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I just snap out of it. But everybody has days like that, you know? So, do you have a home studio?
I do.
Yeah.
I love my home studio. Sometimes I have to go to New York to do a project. And I
Yeah.
feel like that balances out. It's like a 4-hour drive. And I feel like it balances out for the days when my commute is from my kitchen to my home
Yeah.
studio.
That's the best commute ever. Yeah.
um,
What about your home studio do you love? Like, is there any equipment that you love so much that you want to tell us about?
um, my home studio right now, because I'm getting a new one in September,
Yay!
um, I basically converted a closet that's in the center of the house
Hmm.
with several layers of sound treatment,
Right.
and created a space that makes, and then I had one of the full spectrum incandescent, not the buzzing fluorescents, the incandescents, which don't make a lot of noise. And having a full spectrum light bulb in there was really like, I'm happy to be in my studio. But it's also like, I don't know if you did this. I feel like narrators and voice actors in particular were probably weren't you all the kid that hid under the covers with a flashlight in a book?
Yeah.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm in my secret place. No one's gonna know. And I can make magic, and I'm gonna make up stories, and I get to do all the parts. And it's like that for me. And then the other thing is I can, because there's no one there, I can give myself permission to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Source Connect, so sometimes there's someone there, but for the most part, I'm on my own. So I'm like, I'm going to try that a different way. Well, go ahead. Like, it can be wrong. I can hate it, and that's fine. But it's partly, I think, one of the reasons why I feel like that is because it's cozy. And I might have a couple stuffed animals in there to keep me company. Not saying, but I might.
They might be characters that all have voices, and it's fine.
There might be. I might have a plastic zombie there too. I'm not saying, but like it's, I think this can maybe, again, this might sound weird, but I feel like part of what makes a performance really resonate is when we can tap into that sort of sacred space, right? I mean, when you do a play, it's called that because it should feel like play.
Right.
Because there's special rules, and it feels like an intimate experience, and it feels like it's shared with just a few people. And when it has all of those things going on, then you can tap into each character's truth. Like, even if it's a zany, out of control character that has one line in a game or whatever, that character's still real. They still have something to say, and it still matters, and you should still feel it. And having that sense of play and creating an environment where you can feel playful, I think, is an important part of that. That being said, the reason I'm getting a brand new studio is that it's a war zone isolation booth.
Ooh.
Because I don't want to have to turn off my refrigerator anymore.
Oh, yes. That is understandable. Yeah.
And
I do that with my air conditioner or heat in the winter, and it's like, because we have like central air, and that's not. My family doesn't love that. I'm like,
right?
Yeah. I'm always like, this will take 15 minutes, and then like full hour later, they're like, Mom, like, why is it now 78 degrees in the house instead of 68? And I'm like, well, see, that one character that I was doing that I thought was just going to be like, I might have done like 12 takes on it instead of like 6 takes. And they're like, turn the AC back on. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but you're right. That's all really good advice. Like, you do have to be able to feel comfortable in your space. What's your favorite type of book to narrate?
I like variety. So I think if I only had to do one kind, I would be bummed out. But if you like, you can have anything in the world right now. I really am so drawn to like mystery and adventure. I love, because I think it's because that's who I am, and like in life. I said earlier, I like going on adventures. I like something that happens. So if it might be a fantasy, I just narrated what I call, it's a really good pulp fiction, but it has like zombies, and it's a different kind of action adventure. And I just narrated a YA fantasy, and I have a romance fantasy coming up. But because they're actiony, sure, they fall in love, but they fall in love after they scale the mountain, and then they have to solve the thing, and then, you know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I love that dynamic sense. I just had this conversation with another woman who's trying to figure out similar thing. How do I put all of this in? And I was like, well, sometimes your life makes your choices for you, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because that way
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, oh, it's telling you what it needs right now, and you just have to follow that. And that's why you have this amazing career, that your career in what you do. I don't have that career. I would love to be able to like be professionally basically famous for doing things that are super, super short. That's awesome. I'm like, wow, how do you do that? But I mean, I have so much admiration for you.
Oh, thank you.
So it's not a down thing. It's just a different thing that your life is like, here, do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just hard to accept sometimes because there's like I said, there's always so much that I want to do. It's a lot. I get bored easily, I think is what it is. So when when I started my company, because I felt that there wasn't enough networking opportunity in the Mid-Atlantic region, I feel like that was just, it was the kind of thing where it was like, this is what I want to happen. I'm not in an area of the country where it's going to be easy to make it happen for me to book the type of work that I want to be booking. And I'm not probably going to move to LA, at least not right now. So I'm going to bring this stuff to me. And then I just was like, told my husband, I'm like, I'm going to start my own company. And he's like, you're going to what? And I was like, I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to call it Mid-Atlantic Voiceover. And that's that. And a lot of people were like, maybe you should just start a meetup group, And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to just start a conference. And there were only 28 people the first year in 2014. And then in 2018, we had 110. So it's like, yeah, it's like, these are all just side notes. Like, but yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see where life takes you. It's So what are some words of wisdom or advice that you can offer to voice actors that are just starting out?
I would say there are so many resources online. Two things. One is, please do some research before you walk up to somebody who's established in the field and say something like, hey, I'll buy you coffee if you give me, without me doing any research, a complete lowdown handbook on how to earn a living at this.
Right.
Because it's disrespectful, actually.
Yeah.
And also, the person is more likely to want to help you if you've done some research, if you have
Yeah.
some thoughts about it, if you've watched Live with Squacky with some other people, or whatever, and have specific questions. Also, when I say disrespectful, I never feel directly disrespected, because the people who have said that to me have been people that I know. But I know I've seen people meet one of the rock stars in the VO world and just start in with a, hey, download your brain into my brain. And I feel like that's just not a respectful way to talk to people. But I will say that there have been times that I've taken time out of my day, so I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. I will go somewhere to a cafe to meet someone because I'm happy to help them in whatever limited way I can, and they don't show up. Or
Oh, wow.
yeah, or they they don't even buy my coffee, and then they're like, oh, I guess I'm not interested. So I lost, like, I just took 3 or 4 hours of my day counting, driving there, counting the time together, for what?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why you should do some research is to find out if this is really the hard work that you want. Some people are like, oh, I'm just going to get discovered. People will start hiring me. That's not true in any job.
Right.
If you want to be anything, if you want to be a neurosurgeon or a cosmetologist or a welder, there's a curve. And the same is true for voice acting. And you have to discover whether or not you're willing to invest the time and what kind of work you're interested in. And there's a plethora of really good resources. There are some non-good resources. So, but you can typically find out who's, what's worth looking into and what's not.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. There are a lot of really good online resources, but you do have to, it's people have to spend time looking things up. Like you said, before you go to someone and just go, hey, can you tell me everything you know about voiceover? Like, I hate it when people are like, oh, I think I want to be a voice actor. What do I need to do to get started? Like, there's so much I could say, but of course, being professional of that, you've got to be professional about it. You can't just be like, well, why don't you look it up online? Like, you know what I mean? But like, as a company owner of the type of company that I own that runs an event that does a lot of networking and educational types of things, it's very common for people to go like, yeah, I want to be a voice actor. What do I need to do to get started? And a lot of times I'll refer them to, whether it be like Edge Studio, because Edge has a lot of online resources that are reliable and they have great coaches and they're a good place to start, and there's so many other places too. I think there's so many private coaches too, but I think that Edge actually offers a lot of free resources, and that's a good place to start before you start making an investment in this career that may or may not be for you. It's a good idea to check out the free stuff first, and then decide, get an evaluation. Is this something that I really am capable of doing? Because for a lot of genres of voiceover, you have to be an actor. You have to be a good actor. You can't just be like, I can read a book, so I can be a voice actor. Like it really is not how it works. And I think that so many people, I've said this so many times before, so many people make that mistake. If you're not good at reading, it's probably not going to be the career for you, because you have to be able to read really well without hesitation and have good pronunciation and have a good idea of the English language or whatever language you might be trying to do. And then on top of that, be able to add that extra layer of the acting skills if you're doing animation, if you're doing video games, and a lot of times even if you're doing commercial, because there's always some sort of character that you're playing, whether it be somebody who's just a conversational person or a teenager or the age category. And there's all these layers to it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. So you're right. It is kind of disrespectful for people to be like, so how do I, tell me.
I've never
And then just expect you to give them everything for free when they could just go online and get that part, as much as they can for free. And then maybe come to you and say, hey, I'd really like to get some coaching or, whatever. And then that's a more approachable way of, and a more respectful way of approaching someone and asking them, how do I go about doing this?
Yeah.
That's really great advice.
I forgot about Edge. It's just when we were talking about great resources earlier, totally. And Tom Dheere, he's a sweetheart, and I like all good things to Edge. And Karen Commons has a narrator's roadmap. It's called Narrator Roadmap, and that's basically for people who are like, I think I'm going to be a narrator. But like you said, there's another thing is if you want to go into a certain aspect of VO, but you haven't actually listened to that genre of VO, you have to listen to that genre of VO before you approach somebody and say, should I be doing this? So if you don't watch cartoons or you've never played a video game or you don't listen to audiobooks, but you want to go into that genre, that's sort of step one.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I think that really, really applies, especially when it comes to the heavier acting genres like animation and video games, because those are I've heard this advice from people so many times. You could have the best voice for cartoons or video games or whatever, But if you can't act, they're going to hire the person who's a better actor before they hire the person who has the cute voice or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's really like, I remember taking a class, I refer to this all the time. I remember one of the first voiceover classes that I ever took when I was seriously getting my foot in the door was with Bob Bergen. And it was an animation class in New York City. And I'll never forget it because it was an intensive animation weekend. And he was saying exactly that. If you could have the cutest, whatever voice for cartoons, and if you can't act, they're going to hire the person that might not have the perfect voice, but their acting skills are killer. You got to be a good actor first. So if you're not, figure out if you can become a good actor, hone those skills, take improv classes. Like that was one of the first really big things of advice that he gave me was take improv, because you got to get out of your head. Like if you're in your head and you're overthinking it, you're never going to be able to really perform it well, because people can hear and pick up everything on a microphone, even though they can't see your face. And so that was some of the best advice that I ever received when I was starting out, is that people don't realize, like, you have to be a good actor. And if you're not, figure it out, or maybe decide not to do it, it's like, or do a genre that's maybe less reliant on your acting skills, because there are some genres that you don't have to be as good of an actor, if you're doing, I don't know, like
explainers.
Yeah, explainer videos, or possibly e-learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
Announcer voice.
Yeah. Today I'm live with Squacky. Like it's so it's so crazy. So let's talk about my favorite topic as we kind of wrap up here. But we connected on Twitter. That's how we decided to have you on the show. And it's so awesome how social media connects people now. So tell me how you feel about social media as a whole, and what your favorite platforms are that you use and why, and all of that kind of good stuff.
I find social media to be fatiguing, but also fabulous. So I have this love-hate relationship with the social media.
Fatiguing and fabulous. Join me on Twitter.
Yes. And I feel like each of the platforms for me is a totally different experience. So which one's my favorite? I would actually say Instagram, even though I'm never there.
Yeah.
Because it's just pictures.
It's so good. I love Instagram.
Yeah. And it's like, I love, like, I mentioned that I do a lot of circus. So a lot of my feed is like, oh, look at that cool thing. Oh, look at that cool thing.
That's awesome.
It is. But I also recognize that that's not really marketing. So I like Twitter because it's sort of the haiku of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it's these little bites. I wish that I didn't have to do Facebook and I could just do Twitter and Instagram.
I agree.
But Facebook is how so many larger events are driven still. Because there's just so much more content, So you have your event page, and you can have a virtual book launch. You can have, you know what I mean? You can post whole videos. It's a thing. And I love connecting with people that I haven't seen in a long time, and I love that part. But the sort of marketing maintenance on Facebook for me is more tiring than the marketing and just the outreach and just like connecting and just like happiness on the other two. And I think it just feels different. So I know that they all have their place, but I personally enjoy Instagram and Twitter a lot more, unless I'm chatting with a friend, but that's not what we're talking about. So.
Yeah, I definitely think Instagram is my favorite, even though I haven't totally mastered it yet. Like, I mean, I have my separate pages. So I have me as a voice actor / just Val, and not, my page is like a bunch of selfies and my kids, and like it's totally irrelevant to voiceover. Like it's really not, there's no strategy there really. It's just like,
Me either. But I
here
like
I
that.
am in my car again, making the same face that I made 3 days ago that you also saw, and here I am, here's my kid, and like whatever, you know. They're like, you should probably like do less selfies and more. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen on my personal page, so you can, you know.
But also, I mean, here's another thing that I think I like about Instagram. Mine's all one thing. So you might get a picture of the dog. You might get a
Right.
picture of my script. Like it might be, but I think that's what I like about it. I
Yeah.
think like about other people's feed too.
Right. That they're
Like
random. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
human. Like
Exactly.
I love knowing more about the person as a real person.
Right. Instead of a fake persona that they're putting out as this is my whatever. Like then I have my company page, which is not, it's not fake. It's
No,
still me, you know, but it's a little bit more like there's like a plan behind it. Like it's like there's like a pattern. So it's like a quote, a picture, a quote, a picture, and then like a picture of me. And my friend was asking me the other day, like, why do you need to have a picture of you every 5 pictures? And I'm like, I don't. But the point is that it's my company and I want to be visible in the sense that it's my company. Like, you know, it's just like I always put something meaningful under it. There's like a method to the madness on my business page. On my personal page, which is private and I don't let everyone follow because it's just me and my kids and my dog, you know, there's not really, I don't have like a pattern to it. But on my business page, I made this pattern of like, I really think that quotes and positivity and inspiration, self care is what I mean. You know, those are all things that are kind of like underlying themes within my company of getting inspired and staying focused. And, you know, so my hashtags are planned around that. And so there's like a method to it. You know what I mean? What I've realized lately, and this is for you guys watching that are also, you know, kind of trying to figure out Instagram, is that stories are so important. This, what you put in your story at the top of the page, it's like you should always have a story going, you know, because that's like you get so much visibility there. Like if you have a public page, especially if you have a private page, it's only going to be the people that are, you know, that you let follow you see it. Sometimes if they decide to grace you with their, I'm going to click on your story, or no, you're not that important to me today, whatever. Like last night on my personal page, I couldn't sleep last night. Like this is just reality. I just woke up at like 1 a.m. I was like super frustrated, and I always, because I don't know, I always have a lot of stuff going on. So I'm like thinking, and you know how you wake up at like 1 a.m. and like everything going through your head. It's not usually just like a, oh, I wish I could sleep. It's like I wish I could sleep, and then you think about like everything. Like so, I found like all these quotes on Pinterest of like when I can't, and then I put like for my story, I'm like when I can't sleep, and I found all these quotes of like all the crazy things I think about. Like when I can't sleep, it means that it. They say that it means that someone is dreaming about you, and that's why you can't sleep. And then I'm like, yeah, so that's that's so sweet that you're dreaming about me. Now stop so I can like go back to sleep, you know? It's like just like random, I'm super funny at like 1 a.m, or I think I am at least, you know. And then I read it at like 7 in the morning. I'm like, what is that? Like, what was that half asleep story that I posted on my Instagram? So I learned my lesson. On my personal page, you might see a random story at 1 o'clock in the morning. You should watch for those because they're funny. You know, like on my business page, I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson on Twitter. Don't tweet at 2 in the morning because whatever you have to say at 2 in the morning, when you think it's gonna be this most brilliant thing that you have to say, like I'll wake up and I'm like, you know what? Oh my gosh, this is the like I have to tell people this, right? And then I'm like, no, no, you don't have to tell people that stupid thing that's going through your head at 2 in the morning. And I learned that so early on Twitter, because then you wake up at like 7 and you're like, my gosh, what did I put on Twitter at 2 o'clock in the morning? And then you read it and you're like, delete, delete, delete. But you know, like however many people have already seen it, right? So here's my advice to you guys watching. Don't tweet at 2 in the morning, because whatever you have to say, if it's still a good idea at 7 or 8 in the morning, then you can put that out there. But probably if you're like me and you're waking up at 2 in the morning, don't get your most brilliant idea and put it out there publicly, you know. But yeah, stories are really, really important. So they should actually be a story. They should be a story of what's happening in your life. Like, it doesn't have to be personally what's happening. If it's your business page and you're you as a voice actor, or for me, it's me as a company, you know, what's happening with Mid-Atlantic Voiceover? Oh, maybe we're having tickets go on sale, or maybe we're going to announce a guest speaker pretty soon, or maybe uh, you know, whatever, something happened, something cool happened, or maybe I found a really cool quote about just acting in general and I want to put that out there, or I'm feeling a little bit negative, so I want to put something more positive out there to encourage people. And so it can just be a sequence of whatever is happening for you, you know. But as more people click on that, you're getting more and more visibility. And the more visibility you're getting and the more content you're putting out there, the more people are going to want to go back to your page and go, oh, yeah, remember when Mid-Atlantic VO put out that cool story about, you know, getting inspired, or this really cool acting quote by Ethan Hawke, or whatever, you know? So it's drawing people in. It's like a teaser, like, oh, there's the story. I clicked on it and I want to see what happens. You know, they're going to continue it. If you just have nothing up there and all these other people have their stories, right? Everybody's clicking, clicking, clicking. They're getting all this visibility, right? It's drawing them into their page. So as far as like building followers, you know, that's not the most important thing, but you do want to have followers because you want people to see your content. It's a marketing tactic, right? We talked about this earlier where we're struggling with marketing ideas, and Instagram is great for that because it's all visual. So it's a story of like what's happening with you. What are you working on? Are you doing something for a circus? Are you on, you know, in a new play? Are you in a new video game? And you can only show snippets of this and that when you're working on it if it has a, you know, an NDA or something like that. But it's giving people that snippet of your life, you know, and of your career that draws them in and wants that and makes them want to see more. So that was something I kind of like finally figured out on Instagram. It took me a long time to figure that out. I was like, stories, that's dumb. I don't need that. And then I was like, oh, that's why they have them. That makes sense. It's a story. Draw people in. So yeah.
I'm having that learning from you right this minute. I'm like, I think I've been doing that ignorance or something. Whatever, I don't know. But now I'm like, oh, I gotta do stories.
You're like, what can my story be? And then it's like, what's so fun about it is like being a creative person. You're like, yeah, I gotta like. It's fun to come up with like, what am I going to put on my story that's going to be like valuable to people to make them want to watch it and not just go click, 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 you know, like to get through it as fast as you can so you can get to the next one, or to just go like this. You're like swipe, 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 and then you don't have to watch it, you know. But the worst thing is when you like have a story up and you're like, oh, I hope this person really sees it. And then they're like the one person that doesn't watch your story, right? And you're like, what? You're the only person I really wanted to see my story, and you didn't take the time to click on it. What's going on, you know? So you really have to make it interesting so people are like, oh, I wonder what Val put today. I wonder what it's from 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's see what she put on there today. Some random stuff about how she can't sleep.
I think that's a new marketing thing. Just call it 1 a.m. My brain, yeah, or whatever.
It's so random though. Okay. So what are you working on now that you're allowed to talk about?
I am opening in You Can't Take It With You this weekend. And I just got a trilogy, fantasy, adventure, romance trilogy. Fun. I'm also working on a really sweet Christmas romance. Those are all audiobooks. And I just was in a circus photo shoot. And I'm actually directing some students in a performance that they're doing in 2 weeks, well, week and a half.
Nice.
So that's my August projects.
That's so cool. That's a lot of stuff.
I like the mix. I really like the mix.
Yeah. That's so much fun. So do you have any upcoming events or conferences that you plan to attend?
I'm going to be at BoucherCon. Like I said, I love mysteries. I consume them just as I was about to say it's like a normal person, but not really a normal person. I love narrating mysteries, I think partly because I love reading them and watching them and all of that. So I'm attending the BoucherCon Mystery Conference in Dallas.
Cool.
And I was going to try to go to Vocation in September in New York City because they're all awesome. Karen Gilfrey and the voice actors of New York people, they're all sweet and amazing. But now I have a thing on that same weekend here. So I think that might be the weekend that my new booth is coming.
Oh, cool.
So I have to stay here.
Have to be there for that.
Yeah. What other conferences am I going to? Big events. I'll probably go to some of the mixers in Manhattan that Edge has and that the Audiobook Publishers Associations have. I don't know.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm going to Voiceover North in Toronto in the end of September.
I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, I think this is only their second. I want to say it's their second year. I apologize if I'm wrong, but I'm just curious to see what they do. You know, because it's like, well, and also it's in Toronto. So like, who doesn't want to just like go to Toronto? So I'm going to Voiceover North. I'm excited about that, and then I'm going to do you know Uncle Roy? Yokelson? Yeah. Right. So he has a barbecue in October at his house. I think it's like October 5th or something like that. Yeah, and I'm going to that. So you should go. You go to that one.
That one's continually on my radar, and I almost always have a conflict for that weekend, including this year. One of these years I'll make it, but he's so sweet and so funny. I was remembering, I'm also going to the Voxy Ladies Summit in January with the fabulous Lisa Biggs, her thing. So I'm excited about that in Charlotte.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you should definitely come to MAVO in 2020 because that's our conference coming up on November 6th through 8th of 2020. So it's like a full over a year away. But we would love to have you. So if you're interested in attending, all the information is online at midatlanticvo.com. It's my little plug, shameless plug right here. But yeah, it's coming up fast. We're going to start announcing guest speakers pretty soon. So we have like a really, really awesome keynote who I'm not allowed to say yet, but he's like epic, off the charts, like insane. So I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to be able to announce all of that information, but it's going to be a really good event. So it's our 5th one, and it should be good. So we would love to see you there.
I'm coming.
So awesome. So can you tell our viewers as we wrap up how they can find you on social media and what your website is?
My website is shearwaterproductions.com, and then you can click on the voice actor part, or you can just do shearwaterproductions/voice-actor.
Awesome. I'll put the link in the bio below this video.
Oh, okay. On Instagram, I'm hol.adams, HOL.ADAMS. And on Twitter, I'm Holly Shearwater. And I would love to meet you.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. And guys, if you have any questions or if you'd like to book Holly for your next project, you can check out her contact info that will be below this video in the description. And thanks so much for watching. And we will see you in our next episode, which will be soon. So thanks again for joining us.